Good evening, I'm Claudia Czerwińska and you're watching World News Tonight live from Warsaw. The first shipments of Polish-provided energy generators arrived in the Ukrainian capital of Kyiv. In response to the unfolding humanitarian crisis, Poles have donated over 1.8 million euros to aid Ukrainians who found themselves in unlivable conditions. More on that in just a moment, but first, more of tonight's top stories. New Delhi and Brussels seek closer economic ties. NATO plans to equip the eastern flank with an automated defense system. And the European Commission approves Poland's multi-billion national defense spending plan. In what is now considered a major humanitarian crisis in Kyiv, there is also a glimmer of hope. The first shipment of power generators purchased as part of the Warmth from Poland initiative made it to the Ukrainian capital. This latest development comes as Polish fundraiser managed to collect over 1.8 million euros to aid Ukrainians in crisis. Our correspondent in Kyiv, Oz Kataji, brings us the story.
The winter energy crisis in Ukraine continues to worsen due to Russia's bombardment of Ukraine's civilian energy sector. As the country experiences its coldest winter in decades, at times leaving 80% of Ukraine without power, and in many cases also without central heating and running water. In response to the unfolding humanitarian emergency, Poland has donated hundreds of power generators to Ukraine, with one of the first shipments arriving in the Ukrainian capital on Monday. Both the Polish authorities and private donors have stepped up to meet Ukraine's needs as Russia has continued to target Ukrainian power stations with multiple drone and missile attacks in January, leaving the country's already devastated energy infrastructure on the brink of collapse. As the organizers of a crowdfunder to supply power generators to Kyiv arrived in the embattled city, they say they were overwhelmed by the response of Poles to their campaign.
We asked ourselves, maybe we can find the money for 100 generators in 1 week. Is it possible? Are we enough crazy to do it? Yes, so why not? And during the one day, we realized that we already got a 1 million. So people asked us, put the higher targets. So we make a 2, 3, 4, 5, and now it's 10. And in the middle of this operation, now we are delivering this stuff.
Poland's ambassador to Ukraine also stressed the importance of Warsaw's support for Kyiv in its time of need, as the city is routinely experiencing temperatures below minus 15 degrees Celsius.
Polish Friends of Ukraine decided to first to start quite a small public crowdfunding, which blew out of proportion. To be honest, we started first with, I guess, 1 million zloty, around 200,000 euros. Right now is more than €1.5 million after just a few days.
Kyiv's mayor, Vitaly Klitschko, welcomed the arrival of the donated generators and thanked the Polish authorities and the campaigners who sent them, saying they would help alleviate the crisis unfolding in Ukraine's capital.
These generators can't cover the whole needs what we have, but anyway will be very helpful to be strong and to give the help to some districts where we need electricity.
With Ukrainian intelligence warning of further Russian attacks against Ukrainian energy infrastructure and temperatures expected to stay well below freezing throughout winter, the Ukrainian authorities will at least be hoping that these generators can provide some respite to the embattled Ukrainian capital. I'm Oz Kataji for TVP World from Kyiv.
The EU could be on the verge of signing a free trade deal dubbed the mother of all deals with India. The agreement would conclude 20 years of negotiations at a time when both India and the EU are keen to diversify who they trade with. Let's now go live to our Brussels correspondent Alex Cadier for more. Good evening, Alex. So this deal was 20 years in the making. What finally got it over the line?
Well, good evening, Claudia. In 2 words, Donald Trump was one of the reasons why this deal was moved forward much faster than it had in the previous 20 years, because, of course, both the EU and India are becoming increasingly concerned about living in a world where big powers define their hemisphere, where big powers will start pushing around and bullying other smaller or medium countries. Now, of course, neither the EU or India are particularly small in that respect, but they are concerned by an increasingly aggressive China and an increasingly unpredictable United States of America. We heard from Ursula von der Leyen, the Commission President, who is in New Delhi right now. We heard from her at the European Parliament just a few days ago, laying out why it is important for the EU to strike new deals.
These deals will open massive opportunities for our businesses. They will create jobs here in Europe. They will give us resilience and security of supply, because the more trading partners we have worldwide, the more independent we are.
And let's dig into the detail, Claudia, of exactly what this could mean. Now, we know that India is considering lowering, for example, its tariffs on cars being imported from the European Union. That tariff at the moment is over 100%. The Indian car market is one of the biggest in the world, but also one of the most impenetrable because of those tariffs. It would go down from 110% to 40% for cars over 15,000 euros and not including electric vehicles. That means that mid-range Volkswagens, BMWs, Audis, Renaults, Skodas and others could be sold much easier in India. So too could French wine or Italian liqueur or other products from across the European Union. 2 exceptions, of course, dairy and agriculture. Those will be left out of this deal because they are controversial in India and the EU. To give you a sense of scale, again, 120 billion euros worth of trade in goods in 2024. The EU is India's largest trading partner. Those two want to work together in an increasingly trading world. Claudia.
Alex, do you think that the deal could face similar issues to the EU-Mercosur deal?
Well, look, there's a crucial detail that I just mentioned, which is the fact that agriculture and dairy are not included in this deal. And that has been the main opposition to Mercosur. The fact that farmers were here in Brussels, were in Strasbourg, were in Poland, across the European Union, protesting against what they feared would be a flooding of cheap agricultural goods into the European Union from those South American countries. Of course, that deal possibly delayed by a judicial review, the European Parliament sending it to the courts. That may not be the case with the trade deal with India. Now, the time it will take to go through the legislative process in Brussels means that it won't be rolled out, if agreed, probably for another year. But crucially, there is pressure on lawmakers here in Europe across the bloc to get this deal done, because Europe will need more reliable trading partners. And although there could be a delay, like with Mercosur, when it comes to the legislative process, the Parliament may be able to delay it, that will still be a more reliable option than, for example, the United States, where the trade policy can be changed in a moment's notice by a post on social media by the US president. Therefore, a potential delay, but still, Europe wants to trade with India, with South America, and have as many partners as possible to be as independent as possible. Claudia.
Thank you so much, Alex. That was Alex Cadier reporting live from Brussels. Imagine this: a fully automated, multi-layered defense system spanning the length of all NATO's frontiers with one goal: to deter any potential attack. For now, the project is but a concept. The plan, however, is for it to be operational within the next 2 years. Zuzanna Jurek, our defense correspondent, has more details.
If anyone thinks here, again, that the European Union or Europe as a whole can defend itself without the US, keep on dreaming. You can't. We can't. We need each other.
But Europe will definitely do its part as it seeks to implement a multi-domain, fully automated border protection, Eastern Flank Deterrence Line.
Not only conventional troops for defense, but also to create a robotic or automated zone near the border through obstacles and the use of technology, which the enemy would then have to overcome.
The driving principle is to create multi-layered defense systems spanning the length of NATO's frontiers, from Finland all the way down to the Black Sea states of Bulgaria and Romania. Experts highlight that the initiative could also serve as a technological leap for the alliance.
It's taking things one step further and implementing the AI aspect. Global arms race, of course, has been very a popular topic recently because the US and China are vying for it.
Analysts note that doing things quickly and efficiently is now the name of the game.
It's to be able to deploy this defense system rapidly on a mass scale, but this will also require the manufacturing base. The ambition is to minimize the cost of these systems.
Others point out that the initiative demonstrates NATO's emphasis on a fully integrated, holistic approach to defense.
This really shows allied cohesion because it won't just be the Baltic states that are taking part in this. As a matter of fact, we're seeing Poland and Romania who are also considering installing similar systems.
Although details are currently sparse, the initiative will most likely aim to integrate the systems already deployed on the ground.
The deterrence and denial systems, including the unmanned aerial vehicles, drones, detectors, sensors, in order to reduce or to completely eliminate the low-cost striking effects of adversary.
Currently in its infancy, the concept, if rolled out as planned by 2027, could see a fully integrated human component and automation. For TVP World, Zuzanna Jurek.
The European Commission has approved Poland's national defense spending plan to be financed via the Security Action for Europe or SAFE loans program. Warsaw is to receive 43.7 billion euros, a record amongst European peers for 139 projects considered to be the country's defense priorities. The European Commission has allocated 150 billion euros out of its budget for the purchase, joint production and co-procurement of military equipment, defensive infrastructure and dual-use applications, which are to be primarily produced in Europe. Poland is set to become the program's largest beneficiary. The Commission also approved defense plans submitted by Estonia, Greece, Italy, Latvia, Lithuania, Slovakia and Finland. In total, 19 EU member states have applied to take part in the initiative. After numerous exchanges between the Polish president and the government, both sides agreed that the final decision to join Donald Trump's Board of Peace constitutionally belongs to the government. The initiative continues to raise eyebrows as it not only stands in competition with the UN, but also boasts a list of some questionable members invited to be part of the board. Piotr Miszczuk reports.
If the president asks me about that, I'll give him the government's view.
That's how Poland's Foreign Minister Radosław Sikorski responded to a question about Poland joining Donald Trump's Board of Peace. Media reports suggest that Poland's President Karol Nawrocki offered to join the initiative in exchange for a US base in the country. Last week, however, Nawrocki admitted that he cannot induct Poland into the board himself.
This type of presidential signature, of course, requires prior approval by the Polish Parliament and an initiative from the cabinet.
Polish Prime Minister Donald Tusk responded that potential membership would be put under consideration.
We will evaluate it calmly, coolly, without getting on our knees and without anti-American emotions. We will assess it calmly and make a decision.
The rift between the president and the government turned out well for Poland, experts say.
Mr. Nawrocki's been able to maintain a positive relationship with Mr. Trump. Mr. Trump doesn't seem to bear him a grudge. But the Polish government has actually got what it's wanted, which is for Mr. Nawrocki not to join this body, or at least not without its consent.
Though the list of countries that have joined the initiative remains quite modest, with some Western countries rejecting the invite and the largest group of invitees not responding to the offer, Germany's far-right opposition is on board with the idea.
When we assume governmental responsibility, we will join the Board of Peace, recently founded by Donald Trump.
Trump's Board of Peace had its inauguration at the Davos summit last week, and experts expect it will aim to sideline the existing multilateral organizations.
It was originally set up as a board that was going to oversee the Gaza peace settlement, but I think he has a much broader vision of it.
The war in Ukraine might be on Trump's agenda, especially given his recent assertions that a Russian-Ukrainian deal must be hammered out.
We don't get that done, it would be
But he failed to get Russia and Ukraine on the Board of Peace.
It is still very hard for me to imagine us and Russia together in any kind of council. And this is not about this particular peace council. Russia is about a council of war.
For the time being, it's the European Union that is making biggest strides in pressuring Russia to end its aggression by giving its final approval for halting imports of Russian gas.
This regulation, REPowerEU, introduces a stepwise prohibition of imports on liquefied natural gas and pipeline gas from Russia, with a full ban from the end of 2026 and autumn 2027. Respectively.
This time around, no unanimity, but a majority was enough to pass the bill, thus circumventing fierce opposition from Hungary and Slovakia, which are heavily reliant on Russian gas supplies.
Hungary will take legal action before the Court of Justice of the EU as soon as a decision on REPowerEU is officially published. We will use every legal means to have it annulled.
For TVP World, I'm Piotr Miszczuk.
At the third North Sea Summit, energy ministers of 9 countries signed a declaration of intent to further develop collaborative offshore wind projects as part of a larger pledge devised to reach 300 gigawatts in total capacity by 2050. This development comes as Europe is looking to fortify its energy security against looming threats as it moves away from Russian gas and crude. Maciej Wilowski is in Hamburg and brings us the details.
Here at the third edition of the North Sea Summit held in Hamburg, Germany, energy ministers and heads of state from various European countries, along with officials representing the European Commission and NATO, at the invitation of German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, have signed the Hamburg Declaration, a pledge to transform the North Sea into the world's biggest hub of clean energy through hydropower and offshore wind. Its aim is to strengthen energy independence and security not only for the region, but for all of Europe.
For generations, the North Sea has been a source of prosperity, of trade and innovation. Today, it has to become also the beating heart of Europe's secure energy future.
The Hamburg Declaration pledges to develop 300 gigawatts in offshore wind power by 2050, of which 100 gigawatts will be achieved in collaboration. These investments, featuring wind turbines interconnected by undersea cables, will not only give Europe a cheap and stable source of renewable energy, but strengthen the region's energy security in the face of heightened threats, particularly those posed by Russia.
In December last year, we in the European Union send a very clear signal to Russia. No more will we let you weaponize energy against us. No more will we let you blackmail member states of the European Union. And no more will we help indirectly fund the war in Ukraine. We've decided to finally end our imports of Russian energy.
These threats, including recent incidents with Russian vessels in the North Sea, could be why this edition of the summit is the first to include NATO as an official participant. I asked the Norwegian energy minister how European countries can more effectively address these threats.
The key factor is cooperation between our countries, share information, having the best available monitoring available to detect attacks, and also making sure that they who want to infect the systems will be catched and taken and be responsible for the measures that they have done in the energy sector.
This coordination will become ever more vital as security threats to Europe intensify, and cooperation on energy could be one step toward achieving that. Reporting from Hamburg, Germany, I'm Maciej Wilowski for TVP World.
The document outlining the U.S. security guarantees for Ukraine is 100% ready, says Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. But that's not all. The head of state also said Ukraine will be ready to join the EU by 2027, but not all EU member states are eager to accept it. To discuss these and more, joining me in the studio for an exclusive interview is Miroslava Gongadze, non-resident senior fellow at the Atlantic Council. Thank you so much for joining me in the studio. It's great to have you.
Pleasure to be here.
So we reported earlier here on the program that Poland now delivered first power generators to Kyiv as part of the Warmth from Poland initiative. Russia has pushed Kyiv and other regions in Ukraine to a brink of what I think it's safe to say can call humanitarian disaster, with people having to live in absolutely unlivable conditions. We also heard about EU allocating 10 million euro to create a special international tribunal which is meant to prosecute Russian leaders. Do you think that there's a chance that there will be justice served, or perhaps the peace deal would go on to secure some sort of a leeway, a way out for the Russian leaders not to be prosecuted?
It's a big question. First, let's start with generators. The Ukraine, I was just there a week ago, and I have to say that Ukraine is actually falling into humanitarian crisis, specifically Kyiv and eastern of Ukraine. Russia is bombarding Ukraine almost every second night, and barely any light is existed or generated in Ukraine. So those generators are life savers. And basically, even if we're talking about energy here, this is justice already. So helping with this to help Ukrainians to withstand this attacks, that's very important. You mentioned the tribunal. I mean, first we have to see this peace negotiation going through. Because yes, tribunal is very important in the end of the tunnel, but we did not pass through the tunnel yet. And this peace negotiation is still not clear because the Russian position is still not clear. Yes, we have statements by President Zelensky, we have US official statements. We are hoping that this security guarantees, as President Zelensky said, 100% ready, will be signed. But again, it's just the first step toward pushing Russia to stop this attack. So the just peace is crucial, and it's important that this tribunal will be created.
You mentioned the tunnel. Do you think that the meetings which are set to take place on Friday and Saturday in Abu Dhabi are going to be that tunnel? Are we going to see Russian officials finally sit down to the table and take things seriously when it comes to those negotiations?
Those negotiations are important as a process, and Ukraine is showing that Ukraine is ready for peace. They want peace. However, we have to understand that for Russia, this is tactics as well. Stolen tactics, delay tactics, and that's what they're doing right now. We have to understand that Russia is building their military capabilities as we speak. They are testing new rockets on Ukraine. There are a lot of information about new advanced military equipment that Russia is sending to Ukraine. So from the actions, we don't see that Russia is ready to stop this war. From the negotiation tactics, yes, they are showing that they so-called trying to, participating in these discussions. But I am staying a little bit skeptical about the future.
When we're talking about those U.S. security guarantees, Donald Trump spoke about Greenland and its annexation as means of stopping Russia and China from taking over Arctic even further. Do you think he will secure Ukraine with similar instruments, not wanting to have that Russian influence kind of bite deeper into the European continent? Are we going to see the same sort of dedication when it comes to those U.S. security guarantees as we saw in case of Greenland?
I mean, first, we saw the dedication from the President Trump towards securing some kind of peace. The question is what kind of peace? And we saw the 29 points first peace proposal that was not accepted, and Ukrainians were able to negotiate this to 20 points. So because that 29 points, as experts say, were too much in the interest of Russia, or even Russian proposed. The question is what kind of, first of all, we have not seen those 20 points. What exactly in those 20 points? We have to see them. And my understanding that they still did not fully negotiated this territorial issue that Russia and Ukraine has, or Russia claiming claiming Ukrainian territories. So right now, I would not really try to kind of predict what would happen in this situation. We know that President Trump wants to stop Russian aggression. We know that President Trump wants to stop this war. However, would it be just peace? That's the question remains unclear.
And it's also a matter of perspective. President Zelensky said Ukraine will be ready to join the EU by 2027. Do you think that this is an opinion that EU shares on the matter as well?
President Zelensky said that Ukraine would be ready even in 2026 and always to open all the chapters for negotiation, and 2027 would be fully ready to join EU. It's a question, is EU ready? We know that there was a track for Moldova and Ukraine to become a member of European Union. Now, as we know, European Union wants to bring Moldova before 2027 presidential election in Moldova to keep Moldova in European company, and Ukraine, as from the statements of Zelensky, wants to jump on that track as well. And what is important for Ukraine today, that they look at membership in European Union as security guarantees. So they are talking about security, military security guarantees with different countries.
It's an economic security guarantee.
But this is economic security, and basically it's more than economic, because we just talked about military development in Poland and all these funds and all this defense shield, right? Those defense shield, I look at your map, and Ukraine was not really covered at all. So Ukraine was kind of empty, and that red line that you put, Ukraine was kind of a little bit a black hole on that map. So I believe that red line should go around Ukraine as well.
In response to the statement made by President Zelensky about EU accession, Ukraine's EU accession, we've heard from Viktor Orban, who said, quote, "I think that in the next 100 years there will not be a parliament in Hungary that will vote in favor of Ukraine joining the European Union." How can Ukraine join the European Union and Hungary doesn't agree? What's the mechanism there?
First of all, European Union has to have their own internal reforms. We see that the problem with European Union, and their basically defense as well, that they have a capacity, they have resources, but they could not make decisions. They are slow, they are not cohesive, they could not bring unity together. And we saw this during all this crisis time, when basically Hungary and Slovakia is trying to stop first Ukraine negotiation with EU, Ukraine membership, and so on, and many other issues. Energy issues, as we know today, happened as well, that Hungary and Slovakia decided not to support this stopping buying Russian gas. So all of that show us that European Union has to change their internal mechanism of voting, and making sure that all the members of European Union are actually following the European Union guidance and rules. Right now, it's not happening, but we have to understand as well that Hungary right now going through presidential election, through the election, parliamentary election, and that means that prime minister, but that means that some of the statements, it's a political rhetoric. However, we have to keep them listen to this rhetoric seriously as well, because that would affect obviously the future decision making in European Union.
Our time here on the program, unfortunately, is coming to an end, but one quick question just before we go. At this point in time, do you think that Europe has enough resources to be able to aid Ukraine when it comes, be it economically and militarily, when it comes to the peace process, or perhaps considering the situation that recently took place with Greenland and this sort of an exchange with our transatlantic partner weakened it?
The European Union is finding its foot, becoming more sovereign and more independent and more resilient. The European Union has enough resources, and the question is not about aiding Ukraine, it's about their own European Union security and defense.
Thank you so much. Miroslava Gongadze, non-resident senior fellow at the Atlantic Council, was my guest. Thank you so much for joining.
Pleasure.
And so this would be all for now here on World News Tonight. Thank you for joining me. I'm Klaudia Czerwińska, and I hope to see you back here on TVP World for more news and features later on.